My next guest is a former child star who made his Hollywood debut at the tender age of 9. And since then, he's carved an amazing film, TV and theatre career, taking on the Loveys in Shakespeare, underworld villains in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking How's Your Fathers, and Nazis in Band of Brothers. He's currently starring in the hit drama Hotel Babylon, but it was the 1976 film Bugsy Malone, one of my favourites. We first got wind of his talents. Ladies and gentlemen, Dexter Fletcher. Sit down, my friend.
Thank you.
Do you know, I had no idea that was you.
You didn't?
No, I mean, well, you don't look like you.
No, I don't look like I did then.
But he was my favourite character in the entire movie.
You know, I've got a theory that it's one of the best introductions in cinema history. Yeah. I know that might be a bit grand of me, but, you know, all these guys, give this to Babyface, give this to Babyface, give this to Babyface. Who is this Babyface guy? And, there he is at the end. So everyone remembers Babyface.
Courage, he said.
Courage, that's right. Gotta get out of there.
Could you always... How old were you when you did that? 9?
9. I just turned 9 when
But your American accent was perfect.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why it was so good. I suppose when you're 9, you tend not to think about it too much and you sort of just go out there and enjoy it. And I think, you know, it was very topical to play Starsky and Hutch when I was a kid, you know, running around and pretend to be American. And so I think it was just, you know...
It's one of my all-time favourite movies. I love the score, which is fantastic, by Paul Williams.
Yeah.
Was it fun to make, or was it hell with all the other children?
I should imagine it was probably hell for the adults involved, but for us kids, it was, yeah, I mean, you know, finally we got the chance to dress up and we had these splurge guns that, you know, fired cream, and there was these great cars that you could drive, and we got to wear the suits and do all the singing and dancing. So for us, it was a very special time. I'm sure any of the kids who were involved in that film then will tell you.
Well, Jodie Foster, of course, that was her first movie.
She'd done Taxi Driver.
Done Taxi before?
Yes, yeah. So she had quite a bit of form anyway.
Exactly.
I think for her, this was quite extraordinary. She'd been working with Robert De Niro, playing a very different kind of character.
A very sordid movie.
Exactly, right. Quite a dark movie. And, you know, and she was on a set with a whole bunch of 15-year-olds singing and dancing.
Did you just drift into it, being an actor when you were a kid, or did you always want to be an actor? Did you go to acting school?
Well, I went to a drama club. I went to a place in North London, in Islington, called Anna Scher's, which sadly is not there anymore, but Anna Scher. Yeah, but a lot of great people came out of that.
Half the cast of EastEnders.
Half the cast of EastEnders, easily. Half the cast of EastEnders, and Pauline Quirke and Phil Daniels, and the list goes on and on. And I went there as a kid, you know, with my older brothers, and my mum, you know, diligently took us every week. And I went to an ordinary school, but then of the evening I would go to the club and act.
Were you like that little fella? Were you a cheeky little guy?
I was a fairly cheeky little guy. Yeah, I mean, I went on to do some theatre after Bugsy Malone. I was in A Midsummer Night's Dream at the Royal Shakespeare Company when I was 11, playing a fairy. You know, Peas Blossom, Cobweb, Moth and it's Shakespeare.
Fairy.
It's Shakespeare. It's very serious stuff. You know.
F-A-E-R-I-E.
That's right. Thank you, Terry. Yes. But I would, you know, we would have to spend our days in the theatre in between the matinee and the evening performance. You know, us kids would stay in costume and
hang around.
Yeah, hang around in the theatre. And there's a story of how I went into Trevor Nunn's office, who was head of the RSC at that time, and demanded a poster for the play, and said to him, I am in the show, you know, and I was dressed in a long blue wig and, you know, I had white body makeup on, and so I think I was a fairly cheeky young lad.
Well, I can believe that, because you were pretty cheeky in 1986.
I find that hard to believe.
Oh, trust me. Let's have a look.
Let's.
You didn't feel that you had to change your accent to talk a little bit more like the Royal
Well,
Shakespeare?
it got to a stage when I went to the RSC when I was about 18. I went to Stratford, and I just left school, and I was an adolescent growing up and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sitting in these rehearsal rooms, and they're all, you know, sitting like this and talking about the deep inner meaning and all that sort of stuff. And I never really studied Shakespeare at all. And so I tried to get into all this, obviously, because you do, because everyone else around you is doing it. But I couldn't really, so I just thought, well, when I was a kid, I used to just do it. And they used to say, it's great, it's brilliant. And I used to just say it, you know. And so I thought, well, as long as I keep doing that, I should be all right. So I don't really...
You don't believe in over-intellectualising about the thing?
No, not if I can help it.
I can over-intellectualise about it now.
But you've got quite. But that was... You had just made Revolution with Al Pacino.
Yeah, yeah.
And what were your memories of doing that, the telly show? Do you remember that?
The show the first time round, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I remember being very nervous because the show was live then, and I would never watch it again afterwards because I felt terribly embarrassed. Because I remember sitting there at one point and Simon Callow was on as well, and he was very lovely. And you were talking to me about, or you were talking to him about his very actory voice that he seemed to have. You know, he's got this great voice, and which I would love to have now. And you were saying, oh, Simon, you've got this wonderful voice. And I remember sitting there saying, yeah, I ain't got a voice like that. I was trying to be very sort of street cred and all of that kind of stuff. But, and Simon said something very lovely. He said to me, yes, but you could have. Which, for me at the time, it kind of passed me by. But when I did watch it back, I thought, oh, that was a very generous and lovely thing to say.
But you could, of course, because you can obviously do accents.
So
you could talk like Simon Callow if you chose
I could, if I chose
You could be
to.
Shakespearean.
I could do the Shakespeare, Terence.
Can you, good man?
Yes, I could try.
But now, life has rolled on 20 years.
It has.
Did you find things difficult? Have things been a bit of a strain in those intervening years?
I mean, you know...
You had your tough times.
I did have my wilderness years, as I call them. Yeah, I mean, after the period when I was in the show the first time, I kind of... I didn't over-intellectualise stuff, and with anything that's a craft like acting is, to get all serious, you need to put in a certain amount of work. And I, after a while, started to feel as an adolescent, which is what I was then, that I wasn't sure whether I'd really earned the position that I had. I was making movies with Al Pacino, and it really seemed to me to be happening by luck rather than design. And so I kind of lost my way a bit because I felt that I didn't really deserve to be where I was. I know it may sound strange.
It is strange, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, but...
With kind of low self-esteem.
I think that's it, yeah. And that kind of led me anyway into places that, you know, were not particularly healthy for me, let's say.
Yeah, so how did you pull yourself out of it? What happened that made the penny drop, that you were going in the wrong direction?
Well, I was very lucky that after a certain amount of time, I'd worked with a lot of great people when I was a kid. And one of the people I worked with was Alan Rickman, say, for example. I worked with him in the theatre when I was 14. And our paths crossed again when I was in my mid-20s, and I think he could see that I was slightly at sea. You know, I was a bit kind of misguided. And he started to push me in a direction that was more theatre-orientated again.
Wasn't that an extraordinarily kind thing to do?
Yeah, it was a wonderfully generous thing to do. It was. And I owe him a lot for that, because as a result of that, I met my wife, who's a theatre and opera director, and my life totally turned around and changed.
But isn't that terrific, that he should take the time?
Yeah, but that's who he is. He's a lovely, generous man.
How did you get a part in Band of Brothers? Again, American accent, you see. Was it because you could do a great American accent?
I hope, I think it was partly that as well.
And you're a good actor, of course.
I'm a good actor, and I could look like a soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll do. Let's get him in there.
Yeah.
A friend of mine told me that they were, you know, that the auditions were on, and I went and met someone, and 2 days later, Tom Hanks flew into town with his huge beard, because he was making Castaway at the time, and he was really thin, and he had this huge beard, and he looked completely mad. And I ended up sitting in an audition, reading with a script, and Tom Hanks kind of looking me over like that. And then 3 weeks later, I was in boot camp, you know, marching up and down with the rest of the guys.
A great series, that was wonderful.
Working on that, fantastic.
Dexter, it's been great to see you again.
Lovely to see you.
And congratulations, may your success continue. Dexter
Thank you very
Fletcher.
much.